another video. This is Miss B from my new teacher channel. It is called The Confident Classroom. Now, right now, I'm going to go over an article that talks about how technology can be integrated in the classroom using Google Slides. Now, a lot of teachers have been using Google Slides, but after reading this article, I was not aware of this process, and I think I'm going to try it as well. So I'll give you the feedback on that. So if you're new to the channel, go ahead and press the like button. Go ahead and share the video. And I also want you to um subscribe to the channel and share it with your friends. Okay, so one thing that we can look, it says another way in which we can have kids to be doing deep thinking is to use Google Slides when we teach, but to use it a different way. Normally, I use a Google Slide, I would show the slides, or I show the slides, and then if I have a question come up, I'll show the question. Now, this one process is to incorporate a blank slide, right? So basically, incorporate a simple blank slide technique, and that will create or increase the chances of students to deepen their thinking process while you're teaching the lesson, right? And there's a research behind this, right? It's called dual coding research. And a lot of times when you're doing your evaluation instrument, there's a part on the teacher evaluation instrument that asks about how do you use research to guide your teaching. So this is one aspect, the dual coding research, and I'm going to get back to that um in a minute. All right, tell me some those. Right, I'm gonna get back to that in a minute. Right, the dual coding research, and this is another article that talks about dual coding, and it's the process of combining verbal materials and visual materials. So we'll look on that in a minute, and it's basically writing about things as well as drawing about different scenario, like using some graphs and all that. You know, I think there's another research base called annotated student learning. So, with the dual coding research, students cannot simultaneously process written text on a slide and understand what you're saying at the same time. And a lot of times when I'm teaching, I always say, I need pencils down and all eyes on me. Put your pencils down and focus on me. So in this, it says you can avoid the issue by using the existing slides to quickly add more thinking time for students by adding a knowledge dump slide, right? Another word you can use is brain dump. So once you use the slide and you teach, then you're going to have a blank slide, right? And on that blank slide, after you've taught, you'll let the kids put everything they've learned on that slide. Okay? So basically, they're saying that in a slide that you already make, look for a few important points that you want the students to know, right? And between those points, you add a blank slide. Now, the blank slide is what the kids gonna use to go ahead and write down their notes. So while you're teaching the instruction, while you're instructing, you make sure they 45 degrees their computer, or they can close their computer. And once they close their computer, then you can go ahead and you can have them to just listen, think about the idea. Look, listen, and think, right? Also, I've learned lately that a lot of times we are not trained to listen. We always want to talk, right? But there's one thing that I learned that is Very hard to do. It's hard to listen because when you're listening, you always want to input some ideas. It's not every time you should be inputting ideas. Listening is what makes you learn. So once you're teaching from that slide, you teach your students to look, to listen, and to think about the idea. Do not take any notes while you are talking, right? And when you're done explaining that important concept, then you're going to click on the blank slide. Now, on the blank slide, you will have students to type everything they know. So there's a similar strategy that I use when I teach something. I would say, okay, turn and talk to your classmate about the concept. So we can extend this concept to having them brain dump. And then once they brain dump, they can still use the collaborative peers strategy to work on or to bring in the collaborative piece, right? So when you've done explaining this super important slide, click on the blank slide, right? The blank slide will let the students do their knowledge dump to go back to their notes and write everything they can retrieve about the important point that you just shared, right? After giving students time for the knowledge dump, move to the next slide in your teaching set and you teach. So it's like you teach, they knowledge dump. You teach, they knowledge dump. And for me, I would teach, let them knowledge dump and let them talk, collaborate, right? Okay. Another thing, you can also use existing slides in a different way to access what information students encoded into long-term memory during a previous lesson, strengthen their ability to retrieve the information. Okay? All right, you can take a slide from a previous lesson with a photo or a diagram relevant to the one important concepts that lesson from the lesson and insert it into your slide deck for your current day's lesson, right? When you get the old slide in the deck, ask students to write about the connections between today's lesson and the previous lesson. So that's how you do connections. So let's say you're teaching weather now, but previously you did water cycle. What you can do is to incorporate a water cycle lesson into your weather lesson and ask them to make the connection. And that's called connections between your lessons, right? Okay. So, one research based strategy is doing that brain dump. They call it dual coding. We call it brain dump or knowledge dump, but it's a part of the dual coding process, right? Where you can write and draw, or students write and draw concepts from the instruction instead of asking students to, okay, so then we have a reflection slide. So 3 slides, we talk about the blank slides, we do the knowledge dump, we do the dual coding, we also do the using the old slides, and then we have the reflection slides. So for the reflection slide, you have how they respond to questions, right? Orally. And by doing that, they can raise their hands, or you call it cold calling, like you call on them. But what I do, I use whiteboards. So if I ask a question, in order to get everybody to be a part of responding and to get everybody's feedback, I let them write their answer on a whiteboard. And when I say board up, I let them raise the board up, right? Because if you ask them to raise hands, a lot of times the very same people are going to be raising their hands, and have some of you will not have a lot of people, a lot of students answering questions, right? Okay, so instead of asking students to raise your hand, this is another one. You can use a multi-purpose set of slides over a convenient way for all students in class to quickly do their thinking. So me, instead of using whiteboards, you can use slides again. Make a set of blank slides, 1 slide for each student in your class. Put each student's name at the top of the slide. Note, if you don't want student's name on the slide, you can say student 1, student 2, student 3, and so on. Name the set of slides something you remember. Right? Name the slide something you remember. And once you do that, make the set of slides editable by anyone. If you know you want to use reflection slides for a class that day, make a copy of the set of slides and rename it. And I think I'm going to try this strategy tomorrow. Share an accessible link to that set of reflection slides, right? Use a short, tiny URL or a QR code and post the link or code on the whiteboard. Or, I could use a QR code or somewhere else where the students can access it. Now, during the class, when you have a question and you want all the students to answer, you can just tell them to use the link to access the reflection slides. Students can go to their slides, write their responses to the question you asked. I like this activity. If you want students to think about their classmates' responses, you can direct them to look through the other responses, and you can even project some sample responses based on the student feedback or discussion. You can look through the reflection slides during or after class to get a sense of what students' responses are. This is really cool. I like this reflection slide activity. So let me review the reflection slide activity. You make a set of slides, make multiple slides, one for each student. Put their names on the top, or you can say student A, student B, student C. So when you name the set of slides, you will remember what it is, right? Then you create a link or you do a QR code so students have access to the slide. And then once you ask a question, they can go on the reflection slides and write their answers down. And in this way, you don't have to use a lot of paper. You don't have to use a lot of you don't have to use a lot of paper. You can use this very same technology because all students have a Chromebook. So this is something I want you to try and let me know when you try it how it is. So we have something that says work smarter, not harder, but it is a useful reminder, especially for teachers who don't have a lot of time. We may not have enough time to do everything we want with our students, but reusing materials can help us prepare so we can save time and promote learning, right? So this little presentation has to do with how to use simple Google Slides to promote thinking in students. One strategy is the blank slides, where you use a set of blank slides. You teach, then you have a set of slides, and students brain dump or knowledge dump. Then the next one is where you have a set of slide and you choose a slide from a lesson that you've previously done and you incorporate it in that slide to make connections. And my example was, let's say now I'm teaching weather, and last year I taught water cycle. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to incorporate a water cycle slide in my weather instructional slide, and then I'm going to use that to find out or to make connection. And the last slide is a reflection slide where you have students, you create a blank slide for each student and you call it the reflection slide. Maybe reflection slide week 1, week 2, whatever the case may be. Block A, block B, block C. And then once you do that, you will have the students write their reflection when you ask them a question. All right, this is the end of another presentation. Hopefully the next time I do one, I will have a literal slide and I will make a slide. Right now, I'm just doing this. I'm just playing it by ear. Play it by ear. Okay. So anyway, if you're new to the channel, remember to like and share. Hit the notification bell so you know when I upload another video. Before I end this video, I want to say today is my first day back to school, and as a lot of people for the year. And I want you guys to go ahead and keep pushing, keep motivating yourselves, especially for the new teachers who have a lot on their plate. Veteran teachers too, because sometimes we have a whole lot on our plate. Yeah, you can't eat it all off. Wifey to eat, but just do the best you can. Um, lean on your peers who've been there before you, done that before you. Lean on them and and make it work. All right. Thank you for listening and stay safe.